Okay, hello. My name is Peter. Um, this is just a coding walkthrough for my React Redux project for the final assignment for Flatiron's online program. Um, so today I'll just kind of be coding the Redux part of this application, the actions and the reducers. Um, but yeah, let's get started. So first, I would have to create an actions folder as well as a reducers folder, just to kind of keep things separate. And then, so next I would create a types.js in my actions folder. Types.js. And here I just kind of want to give the strings a variable. So I will do export const fetch movies equals fetch movies, because ultimately this action, what it will do is it'll fetch the movies from the movie database. And so just to kind of keep the namings straightforward. And then next I would create another folder called movie actions.js. Here I want to import that constant from the types.js fetch movies from /types. And here I want to create the action. So export const fetch movies equals I got this wrong, so I need a dispatch here. And so from here I usually do just console.log just to know that action triggered. And here first I will call fetch to make the API call. The API that I will be using is http api.themoviedatabase.org movie now. Well, I won't share my actual API key, so I'll just kind of put something random. But yeah, essentially here's an API key. And then after you get the promise back, you want to basically make it into JSON. Then then I'm going to do data, and then you want to do the dispatch down here. Type fetch movies. Then the payload would be basically data. So yeah, the data, and then there we go. So here we are fetching the movies, or the currently playing movies are now playing from the movie database, and that all the data that you get back will go into the payload. And so this action will be dispatched to the store. I already have the store here, I already created it. But yeah, and then the store would send it to the reducer. I actually haven't created the reducer yet, so would actually first work on that. So I will go to, oh, I don't have a directory. Oh, I do have a directory. So I would create an index.js for the reducers just to combine the reducers. So, which is a middleware from Redux, and I don't have the reducer yet. So first I'll have to create the movie reducer, which I will do first. So movie reducer.js, and in here I will import the constant fetch movies from actions./types. And then, so first I need to create an initial state. So in the initial state, I'll just do movies, an empty array. It'll be filled once I get the data back from the API, and I'll put that into the movies array. So for now, it'll be empty as an initial state, and then I'll export default function state will be initial state, and then the action switch action.type, and then case of fetch movies. I want to return an object. I don't actually want to change the state. I want to create a new one because I don't want it to be destructive. So movies, into movies I'll put whatever I had in the payload from the movie action. But yeah, and then default would just be return state. Great, and so, yep, essentially once my action is triggered from the front end, so once this action is triggered from the front end, it'll basically send it to the store, and the store will send it to the reducer. The reducer will basically update the state here by basically changing the state here. And then it'll send the new state back to the store, which the store, you'll be able to retrieve the data from the store from your components by using a middleware, of course. But yeah. So yeah, I have to combine the reducers here. And in order to do that, I would have to import that movie reducer from the movie reducer file, and then export default combine reducers movies movie reducer. Okay. And then, so now that the whole actions and reducers and store is all set up, I will have to actually be able to handle it in the components and render it in the view. So I want to do all my data handling in the container component. I actually just named the pages. So basically all my pages will be my container components. So I'm going to do all my data fetching here and then send it down to the child components, which are the stateless components. So first, I'll have to import everything. I actually use prop types to kind of tell it what to expect. So from prop types and import connect, which is the middleware to allow the components to have basically the data from the Redux store. And I want to import that action to be able to trigger it from my component. Okay, so connect. we're going to do map state to props, and then the action will be fetch movies. Okay, so down here I have to create the map state to props function. State.movies. And home page. Okay, and so here we have the fetch movies action. Until we trigger that action, we won't be updating the Redux store, so we just won't have any dynamic data that we need, real data. So a good place to actually trigger that action would actually be in the component will mount. So here in this lifecycle hook, I will basically run it by saying this.props.fetch movies. Basically, this works. Fetch movies, the action is in the props object because we use this connect function, and so this connect function will basically allow you to use your actions and get your props from the React store by putting it in the this.props object. So yeah, once you do fetch movies, this.props.fetch movies, your store will be updated with real data, and you'll be able to retrieve that by using this.props .movies, because I actually named it movies here. So yeah, let's basically do that. Yeah, and so actually I went ahead and actually before used this.props.movies. But yeah, so this would work. It's this.props.movies to the 0th index because I want to get the first movie and then send that back down to the child component. The only reason why I have let movie equals fetching first, and then if this.props.movies.length, and then I switch the movies to real data, is because it kind of takes time for API requests to basically get fulfilled. So initially movie would be undefined when I try to send it down to the child component. In order to prevent that error, I basically first initialize it to fetching, and then whenever you get the real life data back, I update it. There are better ways to do this, and down the line when I refactor, hopefully I will change it to, I guess, the better way to do it. But yeah, so earlier I did prop types. In order to finish that, I'll finish that. So homepage.prop types equals fetch movies will be a function, and movies, it was an array as we saw earlier in this initial state. It will be of type array, and so there is my prop types. And yeah, so essentially I'm just fetching the data in the container component, doing all the data handling here, and then sending it down to its child components, because I don't actually want to do anything related to data in the child components, because I'm trying to leave them, trying to separate data handling and just presentational stuff. So that's the reason why I did that. But yeah, I would show you it working, but again, it won't work right now because I haven't actually put my specific API key here. And yeah, so that is the end of the coding walkthrough of my React Redux project. Yeah.